Welcome, one and all. I'm Paul O'Mahony, and it grieves me that have been unable to be here all day. I think I've missed one Cong, and the brilliant thing this evening is we got a fantastic group of people willing to share their poetry. The way we're going to do it this evening, because we just have an hour and we got a lot of people who'd love to do it, and unfortunately we don't have any Guinness, but we're going to, I'm going to ask Owen to mute everybody. Then I'm going to tell the person who's going to come next. As soon as they've finished their poem, we'll all drink to them, and we'll try and rattle along as best we can. Now, one of the greatest poems ever written by anybody in the English language begins like this. You do not have to be good. One of the greatest lines ever written in the English language in a poem. Mary Oliver, may you rest in peace. However, the key thing is that your poetry doesn't have to be good. The poetry can be naughty. The poetry can be scandalous. And we're going to have great fun. And I'm going to ask the first person. What is this, Owen? Is this the third poetry open mic at Cong? Could it possibly be? Anyway, no need to answer.
Pretty sure it is.
Celia Keenaghan, followed by Frank Fahy. So Celia Keenaghan, will you please take the stage?
I will indeed. Thank you. Wow, what an intro. So I'm just going to read you a poem that I wrote very recently. I'd come back from a sea swim, and while I was there, there was just a wonderful feeling, and I was chatting to somebody in the sea about trying to describe the feeling, and I said it's almost the opposite to embodiment, because it's like the sea is taking our bodies. And I came home and snuggled up with my hot water bottle to try and warm up, and picked up a book of Jack B. Yeats's paintings and read a little bit that John Berger, the art, whatever, writer had written. And I just picked out this little phrase, and it was, "Look how the sea becomes her." And it reminded me of my dad, because he used to say, if something suited you, if you were looking well, he'd say, "Oh, that becomes you." So with that in mind, here we go. Look how the sea becomes her, a plateau of passion, embodied immersion in the magic of teasing waves. Look how the sea becomes her, swallowing shrieks and wild, willful wails, alchemized into sighs of satisfaction. Look how the sea becomes her, a cauldron of comfort, releasing to spray the afterness of attack, the launch of the lurch of love. Look how the sea becomes her, a laser of life, cutting through tedious threads of tension, tingling transcends to radiant release. Look how the sea becomes her, a sunrise of sensation, throbbing thunderous ocean, pummeling the cellulite of complacency into erotic explosive electricity. Look how the sea becomes her, a sunset of sagacity, elegantly aligned with the deepest, darkest depths that brings her home.
Wow. The cellulite of complacency. I mean, I'll never going to forget that one. What a stunning beginning. Thank you very much, Celia.
Thanks.
And you know what, if we get time, we probably won't, but you'll get another chance, okay? You'll get another chance. Now, look, will you put your hands together? And by the way, do you all know you can pin the reader? You can actually zoom in. If you don't know how to do it, don't worry about it, but I just recommend it because it gives you real intimacy with the reader. Okay, next person up, as I said before, is Frank Fahy, who will be getting himself ready. And immediately after Frank Fahy, Robert Canavan will be on. So we're ready for you, Frank. Okay. We're ready for you.
Can you hear me all right?
Sound great.
All right, okay. My poem is about my mother. It comes in two parts. The first part is about... Sorry, the first part is about my mother's early life, and the second part, it's not a long elegy, I stress, but it's a poem in two parts. It'll explain itself. The first part is called Happiest Memories, and the second part is called Currandy Cake. Happiest Memories. Auntie Nora sits on her throne beside the black iron stove, crinkled hands over the apron on her lap, clasping her rosary. It is night time. The moon and the stars swim in the dribbling condensation streaking the window pane. Distorted reflections, familiar faces living and dead, ghosts dissolve in puddles on the windowsill. Pleasant smells of baking, whiskey and burning turf waft around the warm room, packed to capacity. People stream from the good priest's room to press towards the kitchen, crane their necks, strain their ears. Every seat is taken. Youngsters sprawl on the concrete floor, oblivious to the cold, icy sweat seeping into their haunches. Nora begins her recitation, creating mind pictures, strange things, secret tales, queer sights, Sam McGee. So many neighbours and friends gathered in that kitchen long ago, people who have passed on, spirits not forgotten in the mists of time. Youngsters thrilled to explore open spaces, that wonderful farmhouse and the vast fields beyond. The evening closing, my father receiving a standing ovation, singing Queen of Connemara, oh so neat, oh so sweet. Everyone bursting with jollity, cocooned in a world without woes. Little did I know these would be my happiest memories. The Currandy Cake. I remember once asking my mother to share her world-famous recipe for making currandy cake. She never stood still in the kitchen, so I walked beside her as she talked. A fistful of flour, a splatter of butter, a drizzle of milk and a hint of sugar, a scatter of currants, some baking soda, the blessings of God and a pinch of salt. She didn't have a recipe, or if she had, it was long forgotten, etched into those hands that could weigh and measure, and knit and sew, snag turnips, plant roses, make vegetables grow, and pluck a goose, and skin a rabbit, and fix a bicycle chain, and carry spuds, and heal a wound, and stop the flow of a bloody nose, or make a table jump when playing a trump, mush a good night, ace of hearts, here's the five, where's the knave? My mother could put her hands to anything. She was a jack of all trades and master of many. A typical day saw her making breakfast for everyone, taking her children to school, all with their packed lunches, cycling her bike to her own school to teach maths and Irish, geography and history, music and art, and poetry. And when the pupils went home at 3 o'clock, she went to work in the chemist shop, still managed to do the evening shopping, and pray to God and ask for his blessing, and prepare the dinner, and make and bake her world-famous currandy cake. Thanks.
Oh, Frank. I was trying to make up my mind whether this was Seamus Heaney-esque or whether this was which of the Irish poets, but what a great voice. Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much. Please get your glasses and get that drink into you. We can't possibly have a man do work like that without you getting drunk. Sorry, having a drink. Back to the story. Robert Canavan, you have the stage now in a minute, and Roisin Markham, you're after Robert Canavan. Owen, is Robert Canavan here? And if Robert is, you have our total attention, Robert.
That's the bit that scares me. My poem, I'm not a poet really. I write kind of rhyming things for people's birthdays and stuff. But this time, this is very different, and it's quite a contrast to Frank. It's similar in that it's a eulogy, but it's about my dad. So he died at the start of COVID, and dad and mom, like their full-time job was going to funerals of their friends. There's at least one a week, if not two. And dad used to come away and say, about the eulogy, I went on too long, and he'd throw his eyes to heaven, and that fella, you wouldn't believe that, and if you really knew what he was, and he wouldn't denigrate anybody, but eulogies used to drive him crazy. So he said no eulogy. He didn't want a eulogy at his funeral, and he had a huge number of friends. He's quite old, and he used to go into Galway City nearly every day, and everyone knew him, and even the homeless guys, he used to talk to them, and they had a nickname for him, So it was kind of hard not to have a eulogy for him, He had lots of great stories. But, in line with his wishes, I wrote a poem called No Eulogy, and I made it intentionally short so that he wouldn't spin in the coffin while I read it on the altar. So here it is. No eulogy. We who you leave behind, we are your legacy. We are your achievement. We are your eulogy. That's it.
Oh, wow. I have to say that I will never forget the line, their full-time job was going to funerals. That's means an awful lot to a lot of people in Ireland. So thank you. Thank you ever so much. And what a lovely, lovely tribute. Thanks a million. Now, get your drink into you again after that, right? That's what's required. And Owen, we have next Roisin Markham, and after Roisin Markham, we're going to have the wonderful Michael Power. So there we are. So Roisin Markham, come, adorn the stage. Over to you.
Why, thank you, Paul. So my poem is actually one of my submissions for Cong. It was the third or fourth thing that I wrote, and it's called Ireland Looking Back Over My Shoulder. When we reclaimed our right to be Irish, we had to fight for it. We still exported people. If you left, you owned your Irishness at all costs. Sometimes it was all you had. When we joined Europe, they gave us funds, bringing us from a wayward, funny little rural country to a modern economy, connecting infrastructure and leaving our traditions behind. Our outward-looking vision, not recognizing our own wisdom. To be honest, some of those traditions needed to be lost. We still exported people, but now we educated them first. Everywhere else, their culture, design, clothing, food was exotic and attainable. We wanted it above and beyond our own. Our immigrants ghettoed, romanticized, and lived Irish memories that those left behind had long let go of. The Troubles, they rumbled on, violent, spilling over. These people with strong nationalist views, they wanted something and they were willing to fight for it. We did not all agree. Terror was real. It exploded after CND, Greenpeace, and alongside apartheid. Was that the start of not identifying with what Ireland and Irishness stood for? We were peacekeepers that blew up our closest neighbours, Northern Ireland and the UK, not in my name after Enniskillen and Omagh became acceptable, but before, and especially as kids and teenagers, we were warned never to say anything publicly, no matter what we believed or thought. We began to travel, absorbing cultures, marrying them, living in them, still yearning for the green fields of home. Tattoos of languages and cultural motifs we had no right to. Nothing of our own was good enough. Others adopted ours. Sure, everyone wants to claim being Irish, especially on the 17th of March. Diaspora, our biggest commodity. We began to see people moving around the country, blow-ins. We began to see EU economic migration. We began to see refugees, people displaced. They were not met with 100,000 million welcomes, the Céad Míle Fáilte, but with suspicion, bigotry, racism, and exclusion. Then suddenly we had cash. A whole generation did not have to leave. They could afford anything they wanted. Not everyone, only some of the population. The Celtic tiger spurred us on, reconnecting us with a part of our psyche buried deep. Irish-made things were attainable and desirable. We wanted Riverdance to tap us on forever. Our diaspora returning home, disappointed in what they came back to, missing lives they had built elsewhere. Alcoholism, incest, good Catholic secrets, squinting windows, oppression, church and state, Catholic educators, laundries, the Ferns report, mother and baby homes, Savita, direct provision, mental health, discrimination, racism, othering. Long shadow legacies. Yes to non-denominational education, yes to love, yes to women's choices. We bulldoze good agricultural land for urban sprawl. We spray poison on the ground, fell our trees and hedgerows, pollute our waterways. Our green fields still tethered to the traditions of race, religion, and an Ireland struggling with its own identity. We are complicit no matter if we like it or not. Pushing for growth in everything, adopting post-truth Western values at our peril. We are stopped in our tracks. 2020 drops COVID-19. 5 to 8 years of scenario modeling fast forwarded, an uncomfortable halt. Modern society paused, rumbled through masks, screens at a 2-meter social distance, hand washing, hand sanitizers, now what exists? We have time. Let's ask the questions that reshape Ireland.
Wow, what an optimistic end to a marvelous journey. We have time. Oh, got some. I just want to compliment you, Roisin, for your wonderful bringing in The Valley of the Squinting Windows by Brinsley McNamara. That is the absolute gem to have brought that in this evening. Look, this is getting too good to be left on the plate here. I think we have to collaborate and produce a PDF of the work that's going on. I think those who are willing to share. That's another story, or maybe later at a time. But this point we're going to. Right, we're next. Have you had your drink there? Have you had your drink there? No, right. Michael Power, as you all know, is up next, and Joan Mulvihill will be after him. So, Michael Power, I wonder.
Thank you very much.
Waterford, Michael Power, are you from Waterford?
I get asked that question quite frequently, and no, I'm not. I'm from Clare, Loophead Peninsula, right in the west coast of Clare in Ireland. I'm sure I have relations in Waterford, but haven't established them yet.
So the poet from Loophead? I mean, what an introduction. Michael Power, the floor is yours. Off you go.
You're setting me up there with a bit of pressure. So yeah, look at we heard a lot today about the value of really listening to people. And this poem, which I wrote about 10 years ago, just talks to that to a certain degree. So it's reasonably short. It's called Special Eyes. What if we could see into people? What is it we would see? Would it blind us or birth us? Open our hearts or close our minds? What is it that is there for all of humanity, just under the surface, that does not get said in words, but we would be able to see? Would we be gentle or harsh in our daily interactions? Would I kiss my aunt on her powdered cheek? Would I thank the gay waiter for his kindness, as if I were the last person he was to wait on? Would I see every middle-aged woman in new light, as if she were the mother who stood beside me in the mobile phone shop, asking the attendant if it were possible to recover the photos from her son's phone, who was now dead? What if we could see into people? Walking down the street, the people that we meet, the man in the pinstripe suit, with a gun himself he did shoot. The young woman at the end of the station platform, why does she look so forlorn? What if we could see into people? Would it change the way we act, stopping to think and less from react? A different space from which to meet each human face. What if we could see into people?
Wow. This is just getting too good. What if we could see the people? I mean, look, if he did nothing else at Cong this year, except went away with this idea, what if you could see him? It would have been worth the money, wouldn't it? Brilliant. Raise your glasses again. Pour your drink. That's the power, but wait till you hear who's coming next. You'll hear her coming in a minute. It's great, the great painter. I don't know if she's talked about painting this year, but I tell you what I remember when she used to be a painter. Anyway, Joan Mulvihill will be followed by Tannan. So if you'll, Joan, come into the parlor. Spider to the fly.
Sure as hell my food will arrive in the next 30 seconds, so I'll read this as quickly as I can. And apologies to anyone who was in my session earlier on who heard this already. So this was my submission for this year. I wrote a poem. Society, anxiety, dis-ease, unease, social media, retweet, please, a bot, a troll, a Russian spy, machine learning, smart AI, because nothing's real, all fake news. Hack my profile or walk my shoes. Sometimes high, extreme polite. Live in hope of turning tides. Fabrics ripped, colors torn, all a cover. Now it's blown. Just a word, do what's right, all can change. Voters, crowds roar, placards care, rocking boats, but who would dare? Such decorum, tidy, neat, agree with all. Powers shift, sands too. Time's up, society's you. Undecided, still at sea. Now your time's up, society is me.
Wow.
And my food really has just having arrived, wouldn't you know it?
What a refreshing poetic form. So different from what has passed before. Thank you, Joan. Thank you.
So sorry, gotta go. The food is actually here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now look, we're not even halfway through, guys. There's going to be several of you are going to get a chance to read again, I promise you, or I threaten you, whichever way you want to take it. Anyway, look, guys, here, the next person who's going to come on, going to be invited is Tannan. And after that is Alex Taylor, the wonderful snooker player. He's happening to turn up here for this evening. We won't mention that. Or am I mixing up Dennis Taylor with Alex Higgins? Apologies. We'll have to just have Alex Taylor. Right, it's Anne Tannan. Are you ready, Anne?
I am. Thanks a million. Yeah, so this poem I wrote just in January about 2 years ago, and if we'd only known at the time how much we'd be longing to go out and spend time in a pub listening to music. I think things have changed, and even how lovely it is to be sitting around raising our glasses, but we're missing the throng of the pub. Anyway, it's called A Friday Night in January. When you head out expecting nothing from the evening, cycle to a charity gig you'd reluctantly promised to go to. And finding a place on the square outside to lock your bike, you walk down basement stairs, the muffled thrum of music, urgent and pulsing, pushing you through doors into a teeming crowd swaying in their seats, buzzing around the bar, sparking off the energy coming from a low stage where 5 members of a middle-aged band are playing like it's the last waltz, like it's their last dance before the clock strikes 12. And before you know it, you've stepped off the edge, stepped into the mystery of what it means to be in Dublin in a basement bar on a Friday night in January. And much, much later, when you re-emerge, a soft rain is falling on the square, on your bike, on the swans resting on the canal bank. And on the final stretch of hushed road, an unexpected encore. A fox appears on the footpath ahead, crosses the road in front of you. The music of her movements, a song in the back of your throat, before disappearing through a garden gate to silent, rapturous applause. Thank you.
Let us give her silent, rapturous applause. Now we're going to have a inter-poem break for a second. I got a guy who wants to say something to you all.
Across the rooftops of this great city, wondrous though it be, I scarcely feel.
This is the tune that John Ford chose for the theme music in the film.
Its wonder or its laughter, I'm once again back home in Innisfree.
Okay, enough of him, enough of him. We've got poets here waiting to come on the stage. Look here, are we now ready to receive the next poet, who is Tannan? Sorry, did I get that wrong? I did. We have Alex Taylor now. Let's have Alex Taylor. Where are you, Alex? Come on.
Thanks very much. I think I'm unmuted, so all should go well. Interestingly enough, I just discovered, I looked down at the bottom of the page and it said December 2018. And if I'd written it yesterday, it might suit the times that we live in even better. But it's called Alone. We are never alone. There are always angels at our shoulders, friends and families past, leaning in to check our hearts are beating still, keen to view the pictures in our minds, the bountiful and the bleak, sighing and applauding as thoughts hurtle to find a place of prominence on our crowded rainbow stage. We are never abandoned unless we abandon ourselves. Even then, those angels will hold a vigil for us. We are never alone.
I think we deserve a second out there to be with ourselves and to experience that we are never alone. That's why I didn't come in straight away with telling you what a great line. We're never alone. Fantastic. Get those glasses up again, guys. You got to have shaky legs by now. Off we go. I see Roisin right there. Good on you. I see Celia coming in there with that one. I see Anne isn't having a drink at all, but never mind. Ginger. Oh, Ginger, good for you. We'll get around to the rest. And Joan has returned. I thought you were, excuse my language, buggering off to do something with somebody else. Never mind.
Someone needs to watch me eat. So I've been listening, but I just keep turning off the video for the food part. It's feeling like a drinking game. I'm getting a little tipsy. But anyway, you're doing a fab job. I'm going to mute myself again.
Okay, send in the money later. But anyway, the next person is ready to come on, and I've already named them, and or maybe I haven't. And if I haven't, I really want to say to Caoimhe that, look, I meant to give you more time to get yourself ready. So I'm going to talk over myself and say that Caoimhe has done memorable poems at at Cong before. In fact, I suspect that she may have done some of the most memorable poems ever performed in Cong, because I don't think John Ford used to write poetry. Forgive me. Anyway, look, it's going to be Scott Coombs after Caoimhe. Caoimhe, are you ready to come on and be in charge?
Yes, I am. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So I didn't write a blog post for Con to this year because I've too stressed out with school stuff and all that jazz. So but I have this poem here that I wrote a while back. I wrote it during the first lockdown, and it's kind of society, so it kind of fits in. So this is called Snowflakes. Ask for what you need and get help for when you bleed, and no looking difference between selfishness and greed. Eat with other feet, walk with them till they succeed, and cut your beans in half so that they have half a bean to eat, and stand up when you can and when someone else might need a seat, and dodge the bullets where they fly, but only to save over others' lives. And if that means ensuring you don't die, then take care of yourself, allow your cries, because yeah, there may be someone else worse off, but hard nipples don't make dicks go soft. Hopefully with your self-care you will become more self-aware, and check your privilege everywhere, and be careful buying clothes you wear, and call out racism if you dare. And if you don't, go fuck yourself. And that's not regarding sexual health. I mean, fuck your colonized, stolen wealth and the way that they all felt of unearned authority under your belt. And as the world continues to melt, know that there are free ways you can help. And if you need to help yourself, well, I have numbers you can message me, I'll send them all. And if you want my number too, I'll do my best to try help you, because I would rather help you sort your head than sort the flowers when you're dead. And please try keep your body fat. Starving's not fun. I said skinny is not a fucking trend, and if it were, then fuck your style. It's not as good as it seems. It's not worthwhile. You're so much prettier when you eat and smile than rotting your teeth from forcing up bile. And fat is not a feeling. Fat is something. Fat is your body healing. Fat is protection. Fat is warmth. Fat is beautiful. It is the norm. I have fat in my body. So do you. We've all got teeth, but you don't say you're so teeth, do you? Because teeth is not an insult. It's something we all have. And so fat is not an insult. We all have cellulite and flab, and periods are really cool. Why don't they teach us this shit at school? And give out free tampons without tax rules. And sex isn't just making babies. And girls wanking doesn't make them less lady. And vibrators, they're fucking top notch. Out to the naked grapefruit, this is best sex shop. Wear what you want, if it's sustainable, that is. Not pennies bought, second hand, vintage and Depop. Oh, and let the brass sales and your boobs both drop. Mind yourself, don't drink too much, and please buy fair trade chocolate. Eat less meat, work towards plant-based. Slow pace is somewhat better than no pace. I'm sure your kid's future is worth more than that bloody taste. Recycle your shit. Produce less waste. Climate change is the biggest crisis this planet will ever face. I'm not digging with your digging, your mass-producing bigging, your brainwashed society rigging, money-hungry pigging. No offense, that is to pigs. You guys have your own shit, you get the gist. Yeah, I mean the animals, not you self-centered pricks. In fact, I would quite love if you were pissed, and man, I'm getting all right up. This snowflake generation, that's us, what's up? The kids who were born with the seventh sense, a sense of living through a camera lens. Wow, us Gen Zs seem so darn tense. Or maybe we just don't tolerate silence. All we ask is for intersection of acceptance, the truth behind the accidents, someone with a brain to be president, and for us all to be allowed to be Earth's resident. And for the record, by the way, if I've made mistakes, don't be afraid to say, I want to improve with every day. I gotta learn, relearn, and then replay. If that means changing my opinion because I got new information, or changing my language to save people the anguish, to be more inclusive, less intrusive, triggering, or abusive. I don't know how to end this because the things needing fixing are endless, and I'm tired and I'm fighting hard and I'm guilty and contribute to the scars, but I'm gonna keep driving till we get far, until we escape this bell jar. Rebel and not do what I'm told, because boomers, y'all are getting old, and respect the elderly and all that jazz, but we're all the future has. So while you were the ones who caused the pollution, we've got to clean up and find a solution. The least you can do is honor your confusion, walk with us, give your contribution, step back, listen, educate yourselves on evolution, and please, to all the snowflakes, viva la revolution.
Now, if we were in the pub, we'd be going, oh shit, Charlotte, black woman, she's something. Seriously, brilliant. Peter, thank you so much. I want to thank you especially for for returning to the theme of family life as well. I noticed that and I thought that is a very key thing to have brought in. And I just got a message from somebody called Greta, who's telling me that she wants to meet you. Her name is Greta Thornton. Anyway, look, joking apart, thank you ever so much. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you. Now, get these drinks into you again. Come on. Into you. I want to see more drink being guzzled. Right, now, where are we? We are moving in. And we have got Scott Coombs next. And I've got a great surprise for you. I've got a super surprise for you. After Scott, we're going to have chaos. I am going to allow somebody who hasn't sent me an email to perform, and I don't even know the name, because we will have a few minutes left over, right? So Scott Coombs, come on the stage, come on.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So I have two short poems.
Paul, sorry,
first...
before you do that, sorry, Paul, could everybody go on mute before, so we can hear Scott?
Absolutely. Who wasn't on mute? Wash your fingertips out. You were told to be on mute at the beginning. Scott, you're on. You have it. Thank you, Declan.
Okay. So the first poem is called Jerusalem. The feeling of something right is the silt settling into the muddy riverbed, fine and delicate and effortlessly bearing the weight of slow-moving water, is the sound of a perfectly struck ball and the sight of it sailing as it carries your mind and brings your dominion beyond your own mortality. And so we talked long after the wine. All other diners departed and their conversations ended. Just one waiter quietly setting tomorrow's places, the empty street outside, the wet sidewalk, cold searching wind, the all-embracing night. And the next one is just an untitled poem. It goes, it comes in dreams, the transmogrification of loss, in the form of a moldy loaf of bread dumped from its bag onto the counter, revealing between the slices your dying form and face, mouthing words about your mother and regret, and of love in the form of a long path lined with trees, full in leaf, and people that feel welcome in this strange land. But during the day when these dreams come to mind, the image of a violin appears, the string agitated by the bow's abrasion, shuddering as it must, pushing the surrounding air and surrendering itself to the unknown.
Oh, wow. I wanted more. That's why I wasn't prepared for your ending. Brilliant. Absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. I was thinking to myself that I definitely have to be prepared to put myself on the line, but I'm not going to do it yet because so I want to really invite somebody here by putting up your hand, not by starting to speak, by putting up your hand. Will you indicate that you'd like to do a poem? And if you're not wanting to do a poem, because anyway, I'm gonna go back to somebody who's already done a poem. And Owen Kennedy, you can put away your epic verse there. We'll call on you if we're desperate. Okay. Let me ask, who would like to go? I want Ginger to come next. Ginger is one of my favorites. Every year I've gone to I've been itching to get a word in edgeways with her, but she's so hard to get time with. So now, oh,
Funny.
off you go.
All right. A lot of you that know me know my father passed away last year, and I did a poem. Let's see if my phone will pull it back up. I did a poem. Like I'm still crying from Caoimhe's poem, but anyway, this is a poem I wrote for my parents, and there's 5 of us, and my brother died before my father did, but it's very contentious. I'm the youngest. So I don't really remember living with anyone else, but anyway, it goes like this. There was a chair he used to sit in, a little dark red in hue, muddled in the time-worn fashion. Do we miss the gesture and the nod, unaware of a joke between? We live in the aftermath, ever caught, ever moved, ever unloved, ever escaping. And as we go, on we go. Perhaps in knowledge, perhaps in disillusionment, ever moving on, ever wondering about the joke between. That's it.
About the joke. Okay, brilliant. Get the drinks into you and get your hands up. Otherwise, you're going to miss your chance. Do I see Damien? Is that a drink or a hand? Okay, I think it's a drink. I'm going from stage to stage. Okay. I don't see any of you.
I can go. This is Victor.
Victor. Oh my goodness! Thank goodness I beforehand. Off you go, Victor. Take it.
All right. So do a little intro. This is a poem. It's not my poem. It's by someone called Pablo Neruda, a Chilean poet and diplomat. And this is 1924. And it's poem number 20. It's part of it. And the thing is, it's written for a woman, a loved one. But what I find in it is that it expresses the love or something that was lost. So I think it's a poem to what we lost this year, 2020, to the pandemic. Whether it's our loved ones or it's the way of life or anything. And I'm going to read it in Spanish, by the way. So it goes like this. Mi alma no se contenta con haberla perdido. Como para acercarla, mi mirada la busca. Mi corazón la busca y ella no está conmigo. La misma noche que hace blanquear los mismos árboles. Nosotros, los de entonces, ya no somos los mismos. Ya no la quiero, es cierto, pero cuánto la quise. Mi voz buscaba el viento para tocar su oído. De otro, será de otro, como antes de mis besos. Su voz, su cuerpo claro, sus ojos infinitos. Ya no la quiero, es cierto, pero tal vez la quiero. Es tan corto el amor y es tan largo el olvido. Porque en esas noches, como en esta, la tuve entre mis brazos. Mi alma no se contenta con haberla perdido. Aunque este sea el último dolor que ella me causa y estos sean los últimos versos que yo le escribo. That's it.
Victor, you've done something wonderful for me tonight, is that you've brought in Il Postino into the room. Il Postino, one of the greatest films ever made. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. That's the guy. That's the guy. That's why, of all languages in the entire world, so he being very selfish, the language I'd most like to be able to read is Spanish. There we are. I have everything. I'm now going to, okay. No, everybody else is displaying their paintings, and my God, you're quite exposed when you hold a painting exhibition, aren't you? No, you really are. You just put yourself out there, and you've all done that so wonderfully this evening. So I'm going to give you a post-mortem. This is not the last poem, but it is. Joan, you've interrupted, but my goodness, you usually do it with great value. Off you go, my dear.
Can I read something?
Well, you've started to, so off you go.
So I remember.
Hang on, Joan. How long is it?
Oh no, it's pretty short.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to read just one paragraph, and it's something that was inspired by earlier on, when Anna said something that she really learned to appreciate a lot was trees, and we observed nature an awful lot more this year. So last year at Cong, I bought a book of John Ruskin because I loved the way he observes things. And I just want to read one paragraph of what he observed about water. So the next time you're out for a walk, think of this. It's my favorite thing ever. Of all inorganic substances acting in their own proper nature and without assistance or combination, water is the most wonderful. If we think of it as the source of all the changefulness and beauty which we have seen in clouds, then as the instrument by which the earth we have contemplated was modelled into symmetry, and its crags chiselled into grace, then as in its form of snow, it robes the mountains it has made with that transcendent light which we would not have conceived if we had not seen. Then as it exists in the foam of the torrent, in the iris which spans it, in the morning mist which rises from it, in the deep crystalline pools which mirror its hanging shore, in the broad lake and glancing river, finally, in that which is to all human minds the best emblem of unwearied, unconquerable power, the wild, various, fantastic, tameless unity of the sea. What shall we compare to this mighty, this universal element for glory and for beauty? Or how shall we follow its eternal changefulness of feeling? It is like trying to paint a soul.
Thank you very much, Joan. Thank you very much. Tell me, is Eileen Forrestal here? Is Eileen here? The reason I'm asking is that Eileen asked me if she could read something long. Eileen, are you willing to read something that will be only 5 minutes long, or do you want me to pass?
No, I think pass. It's too long, and I couldn't shorten it, so no, I'm okay to pass.
Yeah, I see Conor doing gymnastics there. Conor, I can give you 2 minutes. Can you do what you want to do in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Off you go, my friend.
Am I ready? Yeah. Cong alone, Zoom at home. Thoughts still roam, Cong regained. That's it.
Oh. Thank goodness we got one of these Chinese poets or Japanese poets come among us. Thank you ever so much, Conor. Fantastic. I don't want to have the last word, so I'm going to have the second last word. This poem I've written is called a Postmortem. Here's how it goes. Imagine you're having a postmortem on your birthday. Exegesis, digging into, excavating the archaeology of life. Findings, mapping the landscape, mining the lapses, misunderstanding the stone, hieroglyphics, burial chambers, growing up among berberis, hawthorn, briars, cabbages and chickens, living with memories, mountains and memorials to failures. Glory be to Paul the failure. In the beginning was the bang. When the whiskey bottle slipped from his fingers onto tiles, and the smell was with father and mother until beyond Lent, born to be bewitched, bothered and blind, as if Genesis was transcribed into the jungle where we're born to find the map of the maze that is to come. to you, every man and every woman, humanity, animals that have a good night's sleep, speak over breakfast, slave all day, skimp on sex, and suffer organically. Never an autopsy, no suspects, natural causes, a birthday deceased and laid to rest with honours, pardons, prose, women, amen. My birthday was in October, and it was a significant birthday, and that is why at the end of October I felt obliged to compose a post-mortem. Now look, I want a last word artist. We have got about 4 minutes left because we've got to hand over to the stand-up comedians. Now, I think you've all been stand-up comedians, to be truthful here. You've been taking us on a journey into sincerity. By the way, I want to repeat my offer in a more specific form. Those of you poets this evening who are willing to engage with a project which I've just invented, haven't consulted anybody, to have your work this evening, or even work you've previously performed at Con, scooped into a PDF and allow me to sell it and take all the proceeds. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Essentially, we give it away, right? You just have to email me. If you don't email me, you're not in. And if nobody emails me, I'll do it myself. So there we are. I want a last speaker. I want a last poet. I want somebody who loves having the last word, and I know a lot of you do. So I'm going to take the last hand. I got Frank volunteering. I just want to make sure. Frank, actually, you're the last man standing. So Frank, Frank, the stage is yours, and I'm going to play after you. Hang on, man. After you, we're going to have a drink to everyone, right? That means you got to get more drink in that glass, right? Okay. You need more glass.
In order to do what I asked to do, I need to be able to share the screen. Could you make me a co-host for a second, please?
I certainly can. I'll make you a...
While he's doing that, could I just explain, if people could go to the speaker view where you just get one speaker, this will work much better. For those of you who are in at some of my sessions, you'll know that the theme of the reason I'm here in Cong is all to do with poetry, actually, and short stories, the Write On group. Instead of reading poems, as I have done and we have all done tonight, our writing group have taken it a little step further. And what I would like to show is just a very quick 1-minute demonstration of how a poem is presented in the Write On group every week by us now. So if I can share the screen.
Frank, I'm making you host.
That's fine. I'll have it now. Thank you.
That means plenipotentiary powers. You're the one who has to end the session this evening, right?
Okay.
I'm not. You're not handing back to me. You have to get everyone to drink, and I'm now making you the host, okay?
You picked the right man for that job, as some people will know, considering I'm a recovering alcoholic. Anyway, you cannot start screen sharing while the other participant is sharing. You cannot start screen sharing while the other participant is sharing. So you need somebody, whoever the other participant is that's sharing, and not allowed.
None other than that disruptor Romani.
Okay, I have it now. I have it, thank you. So I would like to introduce you to James Keogh, one of our older members, and you'll be able to see him, I hope, on the screen. I take it, Paul, if you still have your mic open, you can let me know. Can you see the screen? Okay, great. So if you'd mute your mic, if you go to speaker view, you'll get the full view. This is, dare I say, an ordinary member of the Write On group who wrote an ordinary poem and who would, in the normal circumstances, do what we all did tonight and just read it out. But as I say, with the pandemic, we have moved on, and this is the sort of thing we do. The book he's holding, by the way, is called the Write On Anthology 2021. We produce an anthology every year. Here goes. Oh, I'm sorry. In my haste, I rushed it. I'm very sorry. We'll start again now.
My name is James Joan.
Love Amok, James Q. Paddy standing in the gents, right hand pushing the wall, bringing memories he recalls. A 6-year-old dipped his pen into the well and wrote between the red and blue guidelines. Whack! She let out a roar. The ruler she held hit hard, the back of his left hand sore. Ink spatters on the page. The bitch was in a rage. Amok leather love. 6 times the cane came down on the left palm of his hand. Satan's paw is on the left, and don't you forget.
And there you go. That's what you can do with a poem, rather than just take a piece of paper. That man, James Keogh, used to come into our group and he used to write a poem on the back of a cigarette pack. And he'd read it out, and at the end of the week he'd throw it away, or he'd write it on the back of an envelope. Now he rereads his stuff. We create a little piece like that, and it's preserved. And I think it's, you know, the fact that people read it, the fact that people take time to study it, and the work of the group has improved out of all proportion. And I should know because I'm a publisher. So,
well, what a superb publicist he is. He's obviously making something out of it. Mike, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank.
Completely and absolutely voluntary group.
Thank you, Frank. We're out of time. We're passing over to the next event. Thank you all. Thank you. Till next year. Thank you all.